The belief of three deaths is the concept that a person dies three times. The first death happens the moment the body's heart stops beating and breathing ceases. The second death is when the body is separated from the living world as it is interred to its final resting place. Some believe the second death is the moment the soul leaves the body. The third death occurs when the person's name is spoken for the very last time. The concept of three deaths appears in various cultures and faith traditions. Three deaths is recognized by the Jewish practice of Yahrzeit. On the anniversary of loved ones' deaths, mourners recite the Kaddish prayer and speak the names of the deceased. In some Christian traditions, the deceased names are spoken during the services of All Saints or All Souls. We have all experienced the practice of saying names. For Americans, saying names of those who died in the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, acknowledges the significance of their lives and their enduring impact. On this Memorial Day, we say the name and recall the life of Private Emmett O. Preston, a Fabius native who faithfully served his God and country. At the end of the American Revolution, nearly 2 million acres in the central region of New York State were set aside to reward soldiers for their service. Surveyed in 1789, the military tract comprised 28 townships with 100 lots of about 600 acres each, approximately bounded by Lake Ontario and Oneida Lake to the north, and extending south towards the southern end of Seneca Lake. Land was distributed via lottery, with those in higher rank receiving larger lots. Many veterans, unsure of settling in what was then frontier territory, sold their land warrants to speculators. It is through this process that the Preston family migrated to rural Apulia in the town of Fabius, Onondaga County, New York. Our appreciation of life in Apulia comes from the detailed personal journals of Irving Duane Skeel, a prominent house and barn builder. Skeel was married to Emmett's first cousin, Anna Rowley. This is Skeel's record for the day Emmett was born.
The 29th of April, 1896. Warmer and not much wind, 66 degrees. We worked on Gollin's barn, put on sills a part of the day. It's quite cold this evening. I have not much to write. Isabel went to school and came home with the mumps.
Entries in the journal frequently mention friends and family members who were sick or had died. Harsh weather conditions, poor sanitation, and contagious diseases were constant and ever-present threats. Illness and death were natural and accepted parts of life that demanded resilience, faith, and resourcefulness.
The 23rd of January, 1901. I heard today that Fred Scammell was found dead in bed Monday morning. We are staying at Mother Rowley's. I wrote a card to my father. January 24. I went to Fred Scammell's funeral, drove H. Clark's old horse over home, then took our horse and wagon. He died Monday morning of typhoid pneumonia. He was at his Uncle Herman's and the funeral was held there. He was buried at the Reuter. June 2nd, 1901. I am about home, only up to Father's a minute and after dinner. We are all getting better. Only Anna is not feeling quite so well.
At the turn of the 20th century, the average life expectancy was about 47 years, heavily influenced by the high rate of infant and child deaths due to infectious diseases, accidents, and poor health care. For expectant mothers, the mortality rate was equally devastating.
Mrs. Fred Preston died on Tuesday after an illness of a few weeks. Her death coming unexpected to her friends. They did not realize she was so seriously ill. Besides her husband, she leaves 2 children, a little boy, 7 years old, and a little girl, 3 years old, a father and mother, 1 brother and 1 sister. The funeral was on Thursday at the Methodist Episcopal Church in Fabius.
According to the recollection of Emily Esty, Emmett's first cousin on the Rowley side, Lavinia Preston died as a young wife in childbirth. Fred Preston remarried. Subsequently, Lavinia's sister, known as Dell, took personal interest in Emmett and Edith and likely influenced their attendance to church and Sunday school. The compulsory education law of 1906 required every child between 8 and 14 years of age to attend public school regularly. Emmett, Edith, and about 50 other students attended the Fabius School District No. 10 in Apulia. Boys and girls in all grades came through separate doors into a single room with a center wood stove and blackboard slates on the walls. They left with limited knowledge of or interaction with the world outside of central New York. With the exception of the weekly news from Tully Times and special trips to the city of Syracuse, life in Apulia and Fabius was, in many senses, provincial. Emmett survived the mumps, finished public grade school, and was working for the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad, and regularly participated in church activities. In April 1917, the United States Congress voted to declare war on Germany. 2 months later, Emmett and his Preston cousins completed military registration cards as required by the Selective Service Act of 1917. In August, Emmett reported to Camp Syracuse, an Army mobilization and training center located on Onondaga Lake near the New York State Fairgrounds. Emmett was assigned to the U.S. Army's 23rd Infantry Regiment, along with about 35,000 other soldiers, during the summer of 1917. Emmett's unit departed Syracuse bound for France on Friday, September 7, 1917. Private Emmett O. Preston was about to enter the Great War. The 23rd Infantry Regiment served alongside the 9th Infantry Regiment and the 5th Machine Gun Battalion in the 3rd Infantry Brigade, part of the 2nd Division American Expeditionary Forces, under the leadership of John Joseph Blackjack Pershing. From France, Emmett wrote letters to his uncle, Beyer Rowley, that Beyer shared in the Tully Times.
They have had real winter for about a month. Only 3 or 4 inches of snow, but cold.
Pershing's plans for large-scale offensives were postponed by difficulty in moving supplies and men in ice and snow. Spring brought mud and more delays. Monday, May 13, 1918. The 2nd Division, including the 23rd Regiment, halted the German advance at the Chateau-Thierry area. Tuesday, July 23, 1918, the 23rd Regiment fought in the Anne-Marne counteroffensive that helped turn the tide of the war on the Western Front. Thursday, September 12, 1918, at 1 a.m., the Army artillery barrage started outside the French town of Saint-Mihiel. The battle continued through the day as casualties on both sides mounted. Friday, September 13, 1918, the 23rd Infantry engaged with German rearguard units and machine gun nests.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Private Emmett O. Preston died the first death.
General Pétain informed the civil authorities and the prefect that their town had been delivered by the Americans, that though the French had entered Saint-Mihiel, that they were under American orders and were able to enter it because of the American attack which had been pushed from the south and west. Today was my birthday, and that occasion coupled with the victory, has caused a terrible deluge of telegrams.
The Samiel offensive, which lasted from September 12th to September 16th, resulted in approximately 7,000 Americans killed, wounded, and missing. September 14th, near the battlefield, the body of Emmett and his fallen brothers were put in wood boxes and buried in trenches. Their helmets hung on crosses marking the graves. Their rifles lay atop the mounds of soil. Private Emmett O. Preston died the second death. September 28, 1918, stateside. Camp Syracuse was quarantined as the Spanish flu raged. Over the following 8 weeks, the flu took the lives of 208 soldiers and more than 900 citizens in Syracuse.
October 5th, 1918. Cool, cloudy, and some breeze. 56 degrees. Robert is sick, and we are all on the list. We got word today that Emmett Preston was dead. He died in action over there on September 13th.
Impressive memorial services were held in the Apulia Baptist Church Sunday by the Reverend Pastor Mr. Bowler for Emmett Preston. Less than 2 weeks later, in a railway carriage in the forests of Compiègne, an armistice was signed between the Allies and Germany to end the Great War. The remaining men in Emmett's unit marched to the Rhine River to occupy a sector of the German Rhineland as the final stages of war came to an uneasy conclusion. The Graves Registration Service was responsible for identifying, exhuming, and registering the bodies of American dead in over 2,300 temporary cemeteries across Europe. Emmett's body had been removed from the battlefield site in Samiel and was reinterred in the original Samiel American Cemetery in Thiaucourt, France. March 1919. Secretary of War Newton Baker sent 74,770 ballots to families, letting them decide the fate of their relatives' bodies. Americans grew impatient that their loved ones hadn't yet been returned, and letters flooded the War Department. Fred Preston wanted his son returned home. Ultimately, the remains of approximately 46,000 Americans were returned to the United States. August 3, 1921. Emmett's body arrived in Fabius, and his memory was honored with a funeral service in church and a military burial in the Fabius Evergreen Cemetery. Emmett Preston died the second death 3 times, at the battlefield in Samiel, in the Samiel American Cemetery in Thiaucourt, and the Fabius Evergreen Cemetery. But we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about those who have died, so you may not grieve as others do who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have died. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a cry of command, with the voice of an archangel, and with the sound of the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, will be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will always be with the Lord.